Jeff Swindell easily disposing of Schumann. There is the runner-up car at this point, Jeff Swindell.
Jeff Swindell was able to pass Doug Wolfgang last lap, move into second position. Now it becomes the Swindells running first and second. Sammy is the leader. There he is in turn number 1, moving to the inside of a slower car.
And he's caught up, and here comes Jeff closing in rapidly. Watching the high side for a yellow car. There is brother Jeff Swindell. Is he going to get by?
I think Sammy got onto the accelerator just in time to prevent a change of leadership. Sammy Swindell able to hold off the challenge of Jeff, but it was close as Sammy got bottled up trying to get around a slower car coming off of turn number 2. So Sammy Swindell continues the lead here. Jeff Swindell now running in second. Doug Wolfgang drops back to third position. Steve Kaufman is still running fourth. Fifth place still belongs to Bobby Davis Jr. And in sixth place is Shane Carson.
Bob, before the race began, I walked by Jeff and I said, hey, keep that number 1 and that white car in sight, will you? In reference to Sammy Swindell. I said, we're televising today. He said, I'm not going to keep it in sight. I'm going to beat him.
Well, that's the spirit.
Jeff Hewitt has also moved into the top 10. Hewitt is now running in 9th position. Hewitt has not been heard from too much today. He started in the middle of the pack back in 18th position, but he has finally worked his way into 9th. This is the Doug Howells car, one of the legendary sprint cars of sprint car racing. The car comes from the upper Midwest. It is the car that Doug Wolfgang drove to victory here a year ago, but Hewitt not in it for the win today, but finally, after some mid-race changes, cracking the top 10.
Jack Hewitt, of course, hailing from Troy, Ohio, in one of the very early races on the trail this year at Eldora Speedway in Rossburg, Ohio, driving under the USAC sponsorship. He flipped in a warm-up race and later came back to win the feature. Jack Hewitt, Troy, Ohio, started 18th in the race here this afternoon.
Sammy Swindell pinned down low on the racetrack again, still trying to work his way through slower traffic. There is Rick Ferkel right in front of Swindell. Ferkel moves up about a car width. Swindell sneaks by on the inside. There was something you didn't see too much a few years ago. Rick Ferkel being lapped in a World of Outlaw sprint car race. Ferkel now runs directly in front of Jeff Swindell, and can Jeff get by as easily? No. As a matter of fact, Wolfgang went to the high side of Jeff Swindell. Doug Wolfgang has moved back into the number 2 position. The 3 leaders are among that pack coming down the backstretch. There's the bright red one end of Sammy Swindell, continues to lead. Wolfgang has moved back into the runner-up position. The wings, of course, make it pretty difficult from time to time to see the numbers on these race cars, but Wolfgang and Jeff Swindell are on the racetrack together, and they're trying to catch Sammy.
A lot of race traffic. Sammy Swindell moves to the high side to go around a slower car to the low guardrail. Doug Wolfgang is lurking in the shadows. Now the third place car of Jeff Swindell has fallen back considerably. Here is Sammy Swindell still trying to pass some of the slower cars, about to pass Ron Semelka in 10S. 12 laps to go in this race. Sammy Swindell is not having an easy go of it here because of some slower cars.
Well, he got a nice break there. Semelka just took the right lane. That is the right lane for Swindell. Moved by, and Swindell was able to get by without any incident whatsoever. Chris Criswell is also involved now in lap traffic as Swindell gets around him. There's Criswell and Doug Wolfgang back in second place again. Remember, he's got that flattened out wing, and Wolfgang has to be very, very careful. They've also moved the wing forward, put a little more pressure near the front of the car.
And the caution flag comes out. We'll look around the racetrack to see if we can determine what has happened. Perhaps a stalled car someplace on the track that we cannot see. In any case, the yellow comes out. We stop counting on lap number 53. So we have just about 10 more laps to go.
What an absolutely enormous break for the leader, Sammy Swindell. He was absolutely committed to a situation. It was almost like a sentence. Committed to a sentence where he was going to have to be in heavy lap traffic for the rest of this race. Now we go caution flag. The rest of the slower cars will file all the way around the racetrack, and Swindell will have a wide open speedway upon which to traverse. Had anybody had an opportunity to catch Swindell, I think it would have been in traffic. Wolfgang had moved up. Brother Jeff Swindell got close once or twice. But it looks like now Swindell may have a relatively easy sled for the final 10 laps of this race.
Here's a replay on what happened that caused our caution period. Jack Hewitt in car number 4 in turn number 3 losing control.
Yeah, Hewitt, we had just commented and moved into the top 10. Backs are in just a little. He took the word literally this time. The sprint car racers tell you the idea is to back her in, but Jackie did it just a little too literally. He touched the outer retaining wall. Remember, he had just moved into the top 10. He was battling with Dave Wickham, and Wickham, we got him unofficially in 6th position right now. Also, Keith Kaufman, whom we had high hopes for, we're getting ready to go green flag. He slowed down a little bit. He has passed Keith Kaufman, or rather, Bobby Davis has passed Keith Kaufman, and Kaufman has moved back to 5th position.
All right, we have 10 more laps to go, and we are back to green. Sammy Swindell pulling away from Doug Wolfgang. Jeff Swindell is still running in 3rd place as the leader moves off of turn number 2 down the backstretch. Sammy Swindell now has clear sailing ahead of him, no lap traffic to contend with, and probably will not have any lap traffic to contend with for most of the 10 laps remaining in this race. Now 9 laps to go as lap 54 is completed, and it's about a 10 or 12 car length lead for Swindell, and spinning out is Doug Wolfgang. Wolfgang spins in turns 1 and 2, gets up on the inside retaining wall, almost rolled over, but the car has come to a rest on the guardrail in turn number 2, and the 2nd place competitor Doug Wolfgang's hopes of pulling off a victory are dashed.
Well, I think it was all-out move on behalf of Wolfgang. He was in a situation where his car was not as fast as Sammy Swindell. Wolfgang has been running right on the edge since they flattened out that wing. We'd commented a couple of times, and Doug knew that the only chance he had for victory today, he was not going to out-horsepower Sammy Swindell. He had to beat him on the corners, and Wolfgang has been running right on the edge. And I'll tell you, that's an example of the adage that you just can't harm a guy for trying. Wolfgang giving it his all, trying to catch Sammy Swindell here. Now, interesting thing, Wolfgang is not losing laps. It is unlikely that that little incident damaged the race car to the point where he will be unable to compete. He goes to the tail of the field. He's still in the lead lap. We still may see some fireworks from Wolfgang yet today.
But now Jeff Swindell will be in 2nd position and Sammy in 1st. We'll be back with a resumption of racing in just a moment. Right now, ESPN presents a Track Fact.
Cars here are designed to provide downward force to try to increase the traction of both the front tires and the rear tires. To increase the traction of the front tires, the wing is moved forward on the car. To increase the bite of the back tires, the wing is backed up.
With 9 laps to go, we are still under caution. We'll be back for more of this Syracuse Nationals for World of Outlaws Sprint Cars in just a moment. Over, the safety crew is still out there. They are pulling off of the track on the backstretch. The pace car also moves in from the racetrack, and Sammy Swindell quickens the pace. The green flag flies once again with 9 laps to go. Sammy Swindell, then Jeff Swindell running in 2nd position. 3rd place belongs to Bobby Davis, and 4th is Keith Kaufman.
Well, as we watch Swindell and reflect on his year, he's had a great year. In sanctioned sprint car events, World of Outlaw, URC, All-Stars, etc., Swindell is not the biggest winner of 1982. He has won quite a number of events, as have all the people I'm about to list for you. But among the sanctioned events, Steve Kinzer has won 24 times, combining his USAC, All-Star, and World of Outlaw victories. Bobby Allen, in one of his best seasons in a long time, is 2nd ranked with 20. Lynn Paxton, all on the Boop car, which Keith Kaufman is in here this weekend, won 19 times for 3rd best in America. Tied for 4th, Johnny Bieber, most of his wins being regionalized in Western Pennsylvania, along with Sammy Swindell. 14 of Swindell's wins have been in the World of Outlaw competition. The 6th most prolific winner of 1982 across the country is Bubby Jones, who has won 14 times on the CRA racing circuit and is just about tied with Dean Thompson for that championship. 7th best is George Bischoff, who has won 15 times, and 3 drivers have won 14 times. We have car number 57 against the outer retaining wall and apparently stunned Steve Yodak, who was in the top 10. And also Shane Carson.
Another car involved Shane Carson in car 12, and Shane was running in 5th position when this accident occurred up in the turn 3 and 4 area. And That shot we had of Yodak did not look good as he was sitting motionless in his race car.
But just to complete that list as we go back and continue, of course, to watch this situation in turn number 4, the winners of 14 races this year: Chuck Gurney in Northern California, Steve Smith in Pennsylvania, and Doug Wolfgang.
One of the safety crewmen rushes to the aid of Yodak. Well, Yodak now is showing some motion in that race car. In fact, is beginning to unbuckle. Perhaps he was just waiting for someone to come to his aid to push him off, as it looks like that there is very little, if any, damage to that race car. Although Shane Carson has already climbed out of his car. There he is, sitting on the outside guardrail, and Carson's car appears to be very badly damaged, especially in the front end, with both tires off of that car. Well, we will return with the resumption of this race with less than 10 laps to go in just a moment from Syracuse, New York. His car being towed off of the racetrack. Severe damage to the front end of that car. Meanwhile, let's show you how the prize money breaks down for this particular race. By the way, the defending champion of this race is Doug Wolfgang. First place pays $12,000. Second place finisher will take home $7,000. Third, $4,500. Fourth position earns $3,000, and fifth position, $2,500. Sixth place, $2,200. Seventh place, 18th. Eighth place finisher will take home $16,000. Ninth place, $14,000, and 10th place, $1,200.
By the way, Wolfgang, for those of you at home watching, particularly those from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, hey, he's back. Wolfgang is up to as high as 7th position already. He has passed about 20 cars in the first 2 green flag laps of this, the most recent green flag segment. You know, we're just down the road a piece from Oswego, New York, which is the heart of super modified country, super modified racing in this country. We also might take the time to cite some of the top drivers of Eastern America sprint car racing for 1982. The track champions at Williams Grove, Lynn Paxton, Sealings Grove, also Lynn Paxton. We have a report from Dick Bergman quickly here before we go back green. Dick?
Yeah, Doug Wolfgang just came through here real low, and he came right in front of his pit crew, and he waved his finger at his helmet. And I asked the crew, what does that mean? And they said, brain fade. So apparently that's what Wolfgang has decided caused his spin.
We'll complete that list of Eastern track champions after a green flag lap or 2.
Okay, and off of turn number 4, green is showing once again. We've got 5 laps to go in this race. 5 to go. Sammy Swindell leads them down. Now a battle for second position. And once again, we see Keith Kaufman out to an outstanding start, coming off of a caution. And Keith Kaufman right now has moved into second position.
And here comes Wolfgang. Wolfgang is in 4th position and closing in on Kaufman. Jeff Swindell, is he missing? Yes, Jeff Swindell has slowed down problems with the younger Swindell driver.
Here is Sammy off of turn number 4, and we now have 4 more laps to go. Keith Kaufman is second. Third place is Bobby Davis Jr. and 4th is Doug Wolfgang. Well, perhaps by observation, when Wolfgang spun, that hopes of him winning this afternoon have been dashed. I still don't think he can pull off the victory because of Sammy Swindell. But if something should happen to Swindell, why, Wolfgang would definitely be in a position to win this race. Here is Sammy, though, still looking very strong off of turn number 4, completing lap number 60. 3 more to go.
Wolfgang, Davis, and the number 1 of Keith